What would you do if helping a stranger cost you the opportunity of a lifetime? In today's emotional and inspiring story, a young man is on his way to a dream job interview when he notices a frightened little girl standing alone on a busy street. Faced with a difficult choice, he decides to help her, even though it means missing the interview he worked so hard for. But what he doesn't know is that this one act of kindness is about to change his life forever. Stay with us until the end to discover the incredible twist that no one saw coming. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories. Now, let's get started. Ethan Carter stood in front of the mirror of his small apartment in Chicago, carefully adjusting his tie. At 24 years old, he had spent nearly a year searching for a stable job after graduating with a business management degree. Every rejection email had chipped away at his confidence, but today felt different. Harrison Technologies, one of the most successful companies in the city, had invited him for a final interview. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for. He checked the time for what felt like the 100th time. The interview was scheduled for 9 a.m., and Ethan had left home early to avoid any delays. As he stepped onto the busy downtown streets, his mind raced with answers to possible interview questions. He imagined himself shaking hands with the hiring manager, impressing the panel, and finally receiving the job offer that could change his life. The city was already alive with activity. Cars filled the roads, people hurried to work, and the sounds of traffic echoed between towering buildings. Ethan moved quickly through the crowd, keeping one eye on his watch. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. Then, as he approached a crowded intersection, something caught his attention. A young girl, no older than 8 years old, stood alone near a bench. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she looked around helplessly. She clutched a small backpack tightly against her chest while trying unsuccessfully to hold back her sobs. Hundreds of people passed by her, but nobody stopped. Ethan slowed down. His first instinct was to continue walking. He had worked too hard to risk being late for the most important interview of his life. Yet as he looked at the frightened child, he couldn't bring himself to ignore her. He approached carefully and knelt beside her. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked gently. The girl shook her head. Through tears, she explained that she had become separated from her nanny while visiting downtown. She didn't know where she was, and she couldn't find anyone she recognized. Ethan felt a knot form in his stomach. He looked at his watch again. 25 minutes remained before his interview. If he left now, he could still make it on time, but if he walked away, the little girl would remain alone and scared in the middle of a crowded city. He noticed an emergency contact bracelet on her wrist and immediately tried calling the number listed on it. No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. The girl's eyes filled with fresh tears. "Please don't leave me," she whispered. Those words made Ethan's decision for him. He sat beside her and reassured her that everything would be okay. Then he contacted nearby security officers and explained the situation. Together they began searching for the child's guardian while Ethan stayed by her side. Minutes passed, then more minutes. The clock kept moving, and with every passing second, Ethan knew his chances of making the interview were slipping away. Yet he refused to leave until he knew the girl was safe. Nearly an hour later, security officers finally located her family and confirmed her identity. The little girl hugged Ethan before being escorted away. Relief washed over him, but it was quickly replaced by panic when he checked the time. The interview had already started. Without wasting another second, Ethan sprinted through the streets toward Harrison Technologies. His suit was wrinkled, his shoes were scuffed, and sweat ran down his forehead. He rushed into the company lobby, breathing heavily and hoping for a miracle. Unfortunately, the receptionist's expression told him everything before she even spoke. "I'm sorry," she said sympathetically. "The interview panel finished their final appointments about 30 minutes ago." Ethan's shoulders dropped. That evening, Ethan returned to his apartment feeling defeated. The excitement he had felt that morning was gone, replaced by disappointment and uncertainty. He tossed his tie onto a chair and sank into the couch, staring at the ceiling. His phone remained silent. No calls, no emails, no second chances. The missed interview replayed in his mind over and over. Friends and family had encouraged him to keep searching for opportunities, but Harrison Technologies had been different. It was the company everyone dreamed of working for. Ethan couldn't help wondering whether he had thrown away his future by stopping to help a stranger. Over the next few days, he continued applying for jobs, but his heart wasn't in it. His savings account was shrinking, rent was due soon, and the pressure was becoming overwhelming. Then, 3 days later, something unexpected happened. His phone rang early in the morning. "Hello, is this Ethan Carter?" a professional voice asked. "Yes, speaking." "This is Harrison Technologies. Mr. Harrison would like to meet with you personally at our headquarters this afternoon." Ethan sat upright. "The CEO?" he asked in disbelief. "Yes, sir. We look forward to seeing you at 2 p.m. Before he could ask any more questions, the call ended. The rest of the day felt unreal. Why would the CEO want to meet someone who had missed his interview? When Ethan arrived at the company headquarters, he was escorted directly to the executive floor. The luxurious office space was unlike anything he had ever seen. Nervousness returned as he followed an assistant toward a large conference room. The doors opened. Ethan stepped inside and immediately froze. Sitting beside the CEO was the same little girl he had helped downtown. Her face lit up. The moment she saw him, "That's him!" she shouted excitedly. "Daddy, that's the man who stayed with me!" Ethan stared in confusion. The little girl ran over and hugged him. Before he could process what was happening, a distinguished man in his 50s stood up and extended his hand. "I'm Michael Harrison," he said with a smile. Ethan's eyes widened. Michael Harrison wasn't just the CEO of Harrison Technologies. He was one of the most respected business leaders in the country. "Please have a seat," Michael said. Still stunned, Ethan sat down. Michael glanced at his daughter affectionately before turning back to Ethan. "The little girl you helped is my daughter, Olivia." For a moment, Ethan was speechless. Michael explained that Olivia had become separated from her nanny during a crowded event downtown. Security cameras and witness reports later showed exactly what had happened. While dozens of people ignored her, Ethan had stopped. While others rushed to work, Ethan stayed. And when faced with a choice between his own opportunity and a frightened child, Ethan chose to help. "I reviewed the security footage personally," Michael said. "You knew you had an important interview. Yet you stayed until Olivia was safe." Ethan shrugged modestly. "It just felt like the right thing to do," Michael smiled. "That's exactly why you're here." The CEO opened a folder on the table. "For years, we've interviewed candidates with perfect resumes, excellent grades, and impressive qualifications. Skills can be taught, experience can be gained, but character is much harder to find." Ethan listened carefully. "The managers conducting interviews that day told me you never showed up. Most companies would simply move on to the next candidate." Michael paused. "But after seeing what you did for my daughter, I wasn't interested in your resume anymore. I was interested in the person behind it." He slid the folder across the table. With trembling hands, Ethan opened it. Inside was an official employment contract. His eyes widened as he read the details. This wasn't the position he had originally applied for. It was better. The role included advanced leadership training, a significantly higher salary, mentorship from senior executives, and a clear path toward management. Ethan looked up in disbelief. "Is this real?" he asked quietly. Michael laughed. "Very real." Olivia grinned proudly from her chair. "I told Daddy you're a good person." Emotion filled Ethan's chest. For days he had believed helping Olivia had cost him everything. Instead, it had opened a door he never knew existed. As he signed the contract, Michael offered one final piece of advice. "Never regret doing the right thing, Ethan. Success built on character lasts far longer than success built on selfishness." Walking out of the building that afternoon, Ethan felt a sense of gratitude he had never experienced before. The opportunity he thought he had lost forever had returned in an even greater form, and it all started because he chose kindness when nobody was watching. The following weeks marked the beginning of a Completely new chapter in Ethan Carter's life. Every morning, he walked through the glass doors of Harrison Technologies with a sense of gratitude. Not long ago, he had been worried about paying rent and wondering whether his career would ever begin. Now he was part of one of the most respected companies in America. The management trainee program was challenging. Ethan worked long hours, attended leadership seminars, and learned directly from some of the best business minds in the industry. Many of the other trainees came from wealthy families or prestigious universities, and at first Ethan felt intimidated, but he quickly discovered that hard work and determination could compete with any advantage money provided. His supervisors noticed something special about him. He wasn't just focused on impressing people or climbing the corporate ladder. He genuinely cared about helping co-workers succeed. Whenever new employees struggled, Ethan was the first to offer assistance. When team projects faced problems, he stayed late to help find solutions. The same kindness that had led him to help Olivia continued to shape every decision he made. Months passed, and Ethan's reputation inside the company grew stronger. One afternoon, Michael Harrison invited him to lunch. As they sat together overlooking the Chicago skyline, Michael asked a question. "Do you know why I truly hired you?" Ethan smiled. "Because I helped Olivia?" Michael shook his head. "That got my attention. But that's not why you stayed." Ethan looked confused. Michael continued. "You stayed because helping someone mattered more to you than protecting yourself. Most people talk about values. You acted on yours when there was a price to pay." Those words stayed with Ethan long after lunch ended. Over the next year, he earned multiple promotions. His ideas improved company operations, increased employee satisfaction, and helped strengthen relationships with clients. Executives who once barely knew his name now sought his opinion during important meetings. Meanwhile, Olivia often visited the office after school. She would stop by Ethan's workspace and excitedly tell him stories about her classes, friends, and dreams for the future. Their friendship became something special. Olivia often reminded people that Ethan was her hero. One day, Harrison Technologies hosted its annual leadership conference. Hundreds of employees gathered in a large ballroom to celebrate achievements and recognize outstanding performers. To Ethan's surprise, Michael Harrison called him onto the stage. The room erupted into applause. Standing before hundreds of co-workers, Ethan felt nervous as Michael approached the podium. "There are many talented people in this company," Michael began. "But today I want to recognize someone who reminds us what true leadership looks like." The audience grew silent. Michael then told the story of the frightened little girl downtown and the young man who sacrificed his biggest opportunity to help her. Many employees had never heard the full story. Some wiped away tears as they listened. Michael looked toward Ethan. "Success is often measured by money, titles, or achievements, but character is revealed when nobody is watching. Ethan Carter taught me that our greatest decisions are often the ones that bring us no immediate reward." The room stood and applauded. Ethan felt overwhelmed. A year earlier, he had walked out of the company believing he had failed. Now he stood before hundreds of people being recognized for the very decision he once regretted. After the ceremony ended, Michael handed Ethan a small framed photograph. It showed Olivia smiling beside him on the day he signed his contract. On the bottom was a simple message: "One act of kindness can change more lives than you'll ever know." Years later, Ethan would become one of the youngest executives in company history. Yet despite his success, he never forgot the lesson that transformed his life. Opportunities come and go. Money can be earned and lost. Careers rise and fall. But choosing kindness, when it is difficult, creates a legacy that lasts forever. And all of it began on an ordinary morning in Chicago when a young man stopped to help a scared little girl, unaware that she was the CEO's daughter.